While you scroll, someone is quietly building an income stream that pays them while they sleep. No viral posts, no big announcements, just systems running in the background. And in 5 years, they won't need a job, while most people are still refreshing their feed wondering why they're stuck. Stay with me, because this might completely change how you look at money, time, and what you do every single day online. And if you want deeper strategies and even more absurd money truths, join our Telegram channel. Link is in the description below. Let me show you something that most people never notice, even though it's happening right in front of them every single day. Two people wake up at the same time. Same phone, same apps, same internet. One of them opens Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, scrolls for an hour, maybe two. The other one opens the exact same platforms, but uses them completely differently. And 5 years later, their lives look nothing alike. The first person consumed about 15,000 hours of content. The second person built systems that now generate income while they sleep. Same tools, completely different outcomes. Think about that for a second. The internet didn't change, the opportunities didn't change. The only thing that changed was how they used it. And here's where it gets uncomfortable, because most people believe that making money online requires something special. Talent, luck, timing, some kind of secret knowledge. But if you actually look closely at people who quietly build online income, you start noticing a pattern. They don't look special. They don't act like influencers. Most of them don't even talk about what they're doing. They just build quietly. I know a guy. Let's call him Alex. Nothing crazy about him. No huge following. No viral content. If you checked his Instagram, you'd think he's just another normal guy posting occasional stories. But behind the scenes, Alex built 3 simple income streams. A niche blog making about $1,200 a month. A small digital product bringing in another $800. And a YouTube channel with less than 10,000 subscribers generating around $2,000 monthly. That's $4,000 a month. Not from one big breakthrough, not from going viral, but from stacking small, almost invisible systems over time. Now compare that to someone else. Let's call him Daniel. Daniel spends about 3 hours a day on his phone, mostly consuming, watching, reacting, laughing, saving posts he'll never come back to. Daniel also wants more money. He thinks about it, talks about it, maybe even watches videos about it. But nothing changes. Because here's the brutal truth that nobody says out loud. Consuming content about making money feels productive. But it's not. It gives you the illusion of progress. You feel like you're learning. You feel like you're getting closer. But in reality, you're just standing still with better explanations. And this is where the split begins. There's a moment, and it's a small one, where someone stops asking, "What should I watch?" and starts asking, "What can I build?" That's it. That tiny shift is where everything starts to change. Because the internet rewards creation, not consumption. Always has. Even the platforms themselves are designed this way. Think about it. Who makes money on YouTube? Not the person watching 5 hours a day. The person uploading. Who makes money on TikTok? Not the one scrolling endlessly, the one creating. Same with blogs, newsletters, digital products, affiliate links, courses. Every system online pays creators, not consumers. And yet, most people stay on the consumption side forever. Why? Because it's easier. There's no risk in watching, no judgment, no failure, no awkward first attempts, no zero views, no silence, just endless stimulation with zero accountability. Building, on the other hand, is uncomfortable. At first, nobody cares, nobody watches, nobody buys. You put something out there, and it feels like it disappears into nothing. And most people can't handle that phase, so they go back to scrolling. But here's what they don't realize. That nobody cares phase is not a sign that it's not working. It's the price of entry. Every single person who now makes money online went through that exact stage. Quietly, invisible, unnoticed. And that's actually the advantage. Because while everyone else is distracted, entertained, and occupied, a small group of people is building assets. Not posts, assets. There's a difference. A post disappears in 24 hours. An asset keeps working. A YouTube video can generate views for years. A blog post can rank on Google for a decade. A digital product can sell while you sleep. An email list can turn into income whenever you want. These are systems, and once they're built, they don't stop. That's the part most people underestimate. They think online income is about quick wins, fast money, viral success. But the people who actually win long-term play a completely different game. They build things that keep paying, even when they're offline, even when they're sleeping, even when they're on vacation. And here's the part that might change how you see everything. It doesn't take that much, not in the beginning. You don't need 100,000 followers. You don't need a perfect idea. You don't need expensive equipment. Most of these income streams start ridiculously small. $100 a month, then $300, then $700, then suddenly it crosses $1,000. And something shifts mentally. Because now it's real. Now it's not just internet money. It's rent, it's groceries, it's freedom. And once that happens, you stop seeing the internet as entertainment. You start seeing it as leverage. The same phone that used to waste your time now makes you money. The same apps that distracted you now become tools. The same hours you used to lose now compound. That's the transformation. And it happens quietly. No announcement. No big moment. Just a slow shift from consuming to building, from reacting to creating, from wasting time to owning it. Meanwhile, everyone else keeps scrolling. And that gap? It gets wider every single year. Now here's where it gets even more interesting, because most people assume those quiet builders are working harder than everyone else, that they're grinding 10 hours a day, sacrificing everything, living some extreme hustle lifestyle. But when you actually look closer, it's not true. In fact, a lot of them aren't working more. They're just working differently. They understand something that most people completely miss: leverage. Not the complicated financial kind. Simple leverage. The ability to do something once and get paid for it multiple times. That's it. That's the game. Think about your typical day. You answer messages, maybe do your job, maybe scroll, maybe watch something, maybe repeat the same tasks again tomorrow. Most of what people do is linear. You put in 1 hour, you get paid for 1 hour. You stop, the money stops. That's the default model most people live in forever. And it feels normal, safe, predictable. But online income doesn't work like that. Online income is built on non-linear effort. You do something once, and it keeps paying. A simple example. Let's say you write a useful article about how to fix your sleep schedule. You post it online. Maybe nothing happens the first week, maybe even the first month. But then slowly, it starts getting traffic. 10 people a day, then 50, then 200. And inside that article, there's a simple recommendation. Maybe a product, maybe a tool, maybe an affiliate link. Now you're not trading time for money anymore. You're trading value for attention. And attention scales. That same article could make $5 a day. Doesn't sound like much, but that's $150 a month from one piece of work you did once. Now imagine you have 10 of those. That's $1,500. 50? That's a full income. And suddenly, the math changes completely. This is why the people who build quietly don't look busy. Because they're not constantly doing. They're building things that keep doing for them. I remember talking to a guy who runs a small YouTube channel. Nothing crazy, no flashy thumbnails, no viral hits. But he uploads consistently. Simple videos, clear value. And he told me something that stuck with me. He said, "I don't think about views anymore. I think about inventory." Think about that. Inventory. Every video is like a product sitting on a shelf, waiting to be discovered. Some videos get 100 views, some get 10,000, but they all stay there, working, quietly. Now compare that to scrolling. There's no inventory there. You consume something, it disappears. Gone. No asset, no return. Just a moment of entertainment that leaves nothing behind. That's the real difference most people don't see. One path compounds, the other resets every day. And here's where it gets a little uncomfortable again. Because if you're honest, you probably already know this. You've had moments where you thought, I could start something. Maybe a YouTube channel, maybe a page, maybe a small online project. And then your brain immediately followed up with reasons why not. I don't have time. I don't know what to make. It's too saturated. I'll start later. That later is where most people get stuck. Not because they're lazy, but because starting feels uncertain. There's no guaranteed outcome, and humans hate that. We prefer guaranteed small rewards over uncertain big ones. Scrolling gives you guaranteed dopamine. Building gives you delayed results. So most people choose scrolling every single day, and they don't even realize they're making that choice. Let me show you how this plays out over time. Imagine two people again. Person A scrolls for 2 hours a day. That's about 700 hours a year. Person B spends those same 2 hours building something online. Writing, recording, editing, learning. After 1 year, person A has better knowledge of memes, trends, random facts, maybe some inspiration, but nothing tangible. Person B has 700 hours of output. That's 100 videos, or 50 articles, or a small business, or a digital product, or multiple income streams starting to form. After 3 years, it's not even comparable anymore. Person A is still consuming. Person B has systems. And here's the crazy part. It doesn't feel like a big difference day to day. Both people feel like they're just living their normal lives. That's how subtle it is. Wealth doesn't come from one big decision. It comes from repeated small decisions that nobody notices, including you. And this is where the quiet part becomes powerful, because the people building online income don't announce it. They don't post day one of becoming financially free. They don't make a big deal out of it. They just keep going, uploading, writing, testing, improving, failing quietly, winning quietly. And over time, something starts to happen. Momentum. At first, nothing works. Then one thing works a little. Then another thing works slightly better. Then suddenly you have multiple small things working at the same time. And together, they become something big. This is called stacking, not relying on one income stream, but building several small ones that add up. $200 from one source, $500 from another, $1,000 from something else. And suddenly, you're at $2,000 to $3,000 a month without ever having a big break. That's how most real online income is built. Not viral, not explosive, just consistent, quiet, compounding. And here's something else nobody talks about: the identity shift. At some point, the person building stops seeing themselves as someone trying to make money online. They start seeing themselves as someone who builds assets. That's a completely different mindset. Because now every action is filtered through one question: does this create something that lasts? Scrolling doesn't pass that test, neither does most entertainment. But creating something, publishing something, building something, that passes. And once you start thinking like that, your behavior changes automatically. You don't need motivation anymore. You don't need discipline the same way, because your identity changed. You're not trying. You're just doing what you do. That's why it looks effortless from the outside. But it's not effortless. It's just aligned. And I'll be honest with you, the beginning is the hardest part, because there's no feedback, no money, no validation. It feels like you're putting energy into a void. And this is where most people quit, right before it starts working. Because the system is delayed. You don't get rewarded immediately. You get rewarded later, and later is hard to trust. But if you zoom out, if you really think about your future, what's the alternative? Keep trading time for money forever? Keep depending on one income source? Keep hoping that somehow things will change without changing what you do daily? That's the real risk, not building something. So here's a simple way to think about it. Every day, you're either building assets or you're consuming them. There's no neutral. You're either on the side that creates value or the side that absorbs it. And both feel the same in the moment. That's the trick. But over time, they lead to completely different lives. One leads to freedom, the other leads to dependence, quietly, slowly, without you even noticing at first. And here's the part where everything becomes very real. Because up to this point, it might still sound like a nice idea, logical, interesting, maybe even motivating. But your brain is probably still holding on to one question in the background. Okay, but how does this actually start for someone like me? Not someone with a big audience. Not someone with special skills. Just normal. So let's break that illusion right now, because most people overcomplicate the beginning so much that they never actually begin. They think they need a perfect niche, a perfect plan, a perfect strategy. But the truth is, the people who quietly build income rarely start with clarity. They start with movement. They pick something simple, and they start. That's it. I'll give you a very real example. There was a guy who started posting short videos explaining basic financial concepts. Nothing revolutionary. Stuff like why saving $100 a month matters, or how subscriptions quietly drain your money. His first 20 videos got almost no views. We're talking 50 views, maybe 100 on a good day. If you looked at it from the outside, it looked like failure. But here's what was actually happening. He was building skill. Every video, he got slightly better at explaining things, slightly better at structuring ideas, slightly more comfortable speaking, slightly more aware of what people respond to. No money yet, but progress. And then around video 35, something changed. One video hit 10,000 views, not viral, but enough to matter. It brought subscribers, comments, feedback. Now he had data. Now he knew what worked. Fast forward a year, and that same channel is making a few $1,000s a month. Not because of one lucky video, but because of 100 small attempts that slowly stacked into something meaningful. This is what people don't see. They see the result. They don't see the quiet repetitions behind it. And this applies to everything online: blogging, YouTube, digital products, even something as simple as affiliate links. The beginning always looks small, almost invisible, and that's exactly why it works. Because nobody is competing at that level. Everyone wants to skip to the visible stage, the stage where it looks like it's working. But that stage is built on a foundation nobody sees. Let me show you another angle. Most people treat the internet like a casino. They're looking for a win, a big one, something that changes everything quickly. So they jump from idea to idea. Today it's dropshipping, next month it's crypto, then it's AI tools, then it's something else. Always chasing, never building. And because they never stay long enough in one place, nothing compounds. Compare that to someone who picks one simple path. Not perfect, not guaranteed, just consistent. They stick with it long enough for it to grow roots. And roots are what allow something to scale. Because here's the uncomfortable truth. Most online income doesn't fail because the idea is bad. It fails because the person didn't stay long enough to see it work. They quit in the silent phase, that phase where nothing exciting is happening, where it feels like effort with no return. But that phase is not empty. It's loading, like a system building in the background. And once it starts producing results, it feels almost unfair. Because now, effort and reward are disconnected. You did the work months ago. Now you're getting paid for it today. That's when it clicks. That's when you realize this isn't about working harder. It's about working in a way that continues. And once you feel that, even once, you can't unsee it. You stop thinking in hours. You start thinking in outputs. What can I create today that will still exist next month? That question changes everything. Because suddenly, your time has leverage. 1 hour of effort can turn into weeks, months, even years of return. That's the shift. And this is where most people start making their first real money online. Not from something huge, but from something simple that works repeatedly. Maybe it's a small digital product, a $10 guide, nothing fancy, but it solves a real problem. It sells a few times a day. That's $300 a month, then $600, then $1,000. Now imagine combining that with something else. A YouTube channel bringing in ad revenue, a small newsletter with affiliate links, a simple service you offer to a niche audience. Now you're not relying on one thing. You're building layers. And layers are powerful because they reduce risk. If one thing slows down, the others continue. If one grows, it pulls everything else up. That's how real stability is built online. Not through one big success, but through multiple small systems working together, quietly. And here's something else that doesn't get talked about enough. Confidence. Not fake confidence, real confidence. The kind that comes from seeing something you built actually work, even if it's small. Your first $10 online feels different. Your first $100 feels real. Your first $1,000 changes how you see money completely. Because now you know it's possible. Not theoretically, not for other people, for you. And that changes your behavior. You stop doubting every idea. You stop overthinking every step. You start moving faster, because now you have proof, and proof removes hesitation. That's why the first results matter so much, not because of the money, but because of what it does to your mindset. It turns uncertainty into belief. And belief is what keeps you going long enough to win. Meanwhile, most people never get that proof because they stop too early. They try something for a few weeks, maybe a month. Nothing happens. They conclude this doesn't work, and they move on. But what they don't realize is they were probably closer than they thought, because the timeline of results is not linear. It's delayed. You don't get paid for your first effort. You get paid for consistent effort, stacked over time. That's why it feels like nothing is happening, until suddenly something is. And by the time it becomes visible, it's already been building for months, quietly, behind the scenes. So if you're sitting there thinking, where do I even start? Start small, start simple. But most importantly, start. Not perfectly, not strategically, just deliberately. Pick something that creates value. Put it out, repeat, learn, adjust, repeat again. That's the entire process. And yes, it feels slow in the beginning, because it is. But slow is not the problem. Stopping is, because the only people who don't eventually build something are the ones who never stay long enough to let it happen. And while they're restarting over and over again, someone else is quietly continuing. And that quiet consistency is what changes everything. And eventually, something subtle but powerful happens. You stop thinking about making money online as this separate thing. It just becomes part of how you live. The same way checking your phone became automatic. Building becomes automatic. You don't ask yourself, should I do something today? You naturally look for opportunities to create, improve, or expand something you already built. And that's when it really starts compounding, because now you're no longer starting from zero. You have assets, even small ones, a few videos, a few articles, maybe a small audience, maybe a product, maybe a system that brings in $20 here, $50 there. Nothing life-changing yet, but something real. And here's what most people underestimate about that stage. It's not about the amount. It's about the direction. Because once something works, even a little, you're no longer guessing. You're optimizing. And optimization is where growth accelerates. Let's say you have a small YouTube channel making $300 a month. Most people would look at that and think, that's nothing. But someone who understands leverage looks at it differently. They think, okay, what made this $300 happen? Was it the topic? The title? The format? The audience? And then they do more of that. Now it becomes $600, then $1,000. Not because they worked twice as hard, but because they focused on what already worked. That's the shift from effort to strategy. And strategy compounds faster than effort ever could. Same thing with a simple digital product. Let's say you create a $15 guide. It makes $10 a day. Again, most people ignore that. But someone building quietly thinks, how do I make this $20 a day? $50? $100? They improve the offer. They improve the positioning. They improve how people find it. And suddenly, something small becomes something meaningful. This is how people quietly cross that invisible line, where online income stops being a side thing and starts becoming a real option. And it doesn't feel dramatic. There's no big moment where everything changes overnight. It's gradual, almost boring, until one day you realize you're not dependent on one income source anymore. And that realization changes everything, because now you have options. And options are what people actually want, not just money, freedom, the ability to say no, the ability to choose, the ability to not panic when something goes wrong. And here's where this connects back to something deeper. Most people think the goal is to escape work. It's not. The goal is to escape dependency. There's a big difference, because even people making good money can feel trapped. One job, one paycheck, one system holding everything together. Remove it, and everything shakes. That's fragile. But someone with multiple small income streams, they're not necessarily rich, but they're stable, resilient. If one thing drops, others remain. If something changes, they adapt. And that's what quiet builders are actually doing. They're not chasing money. They're building resilience through assets, through systems, through leverage. And the irony is, from the outside, it doesn't look impressive. No one sees the blog making $800. No one sees the digital product bringing in $1,200. No one sees the affiliate links quietly generating income. There's no social proof, No validation, no applause, just results. And that's why most people overlook it, because it doesn't look like success, until it is. Meanwhile, the loud path looks much more attractive. Viral posts. Big numbers, fast money, but it's unstable, unpredictable, and often temporary. Quiet income is different. It's built to last, and the people who understand this stop chasing attention and start building systems. Now here's something I want you to really think about. 5 years from now, your habits today will have compounded into something, not nothing, something. The question is what? Because time doesn't stay neutral, it amplifies. If you keep consuming, you'll be better at consuming. If you keep building, you'll have something built. And both paths feel almost identical today. That's the trap. The difference only becomes obvious later, when it's much harder to change direction. So the real question isn't, can you make money online? That's already answered. People do it every day, quietly. The real question is, which side are you on? Because every hour you spend online is a vote for the life you're building, or not building. And here's the part that most people ignore until it's too late. You don't need to be extreme. You don't need to quit everything. You don't need to become obsessed. You just need to shift a small part of your time, an hour a day, maybe less, but consistently. Because consistency is what turns small actions into big outcomes. Not intensity, not motivation, consistency. That's what the quiet builders understand better than anyone. They're not waiting to feel ready. They're not waiting for the perfect idea. They're not waiting for the right moment. They're just continuing, even when it's slow, even when it's boring, even when nobody notices, because they know something most people don't. The early phase always feels like nothing is happening, but that's where everything is happening, under the surface, building, compounding, connecting, until one day, it's no longer invisible, and by that time, it's already too late for anyone else to catch up quickly. Because what looks like an overnight success was actually built quietly, while everyone else was scrolling.